Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Bari Beckett. And I messed up her name on the notes and I put Bari Bennett, but it's Beckett. So thank you for understanding. She's a creative and the author behind the new erotica book, Big Love. And she had another book out that came out yesterday, which we will talk about, which proves you are never too late for love and sex and old. That's the
Yes,
main thing.
exactly. And old.
Barry, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I am great. I'm really good.
Well,
Really good.
listen, it's my pleasure to have you on. So, Barry, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that journey like to get here to today? You're an author. You have this book called Big Love, plus another one we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
So, what was that journey like for you to get here to today?
You know what? I never thought I'd be a writer. Okay.
Okay,
I love photography. I always thought I'd be a photographer,
right.
and I was heading towards that way. I've been towards photography. And then I got divorced and I started to date online. And I had met somebody that he was a agent for hockey, a very well-known agent in
Oh,
hockey.
okay, okay.
And he was in New York, I was in Detroit, but I was going to come meet him. And I he when we were talking, I said something very sensuous to him. I said, I would have put a note under the table to tell you to come to the bathroom.
Wow,
And
very cool.
he said, you know, he started with this love story, like, and he's told me what he was going to do. It was very hot, but it was very sensual and very loving. And it ended up that I didn't meet him.
Okay.
We never were able to hook up. Okay. But I had started to write him these kind of stories. All right. And he was like, wow, but we didn't meet. So I continued to write the stories. So this book, Big Love, is 40 short stories about a man and a woman that fall in love, and sex is a big part of their life
Right.
and how that sex shows up. And it ends in their 90s where they are still in love and still touching themselves. And it's a beautiful love story. I'm 64 and I'm not embarrassed to say I'm 64. I'm as sexual now as I was in my 20s. And a lot of us are. And this story is about a couple that is in their 60s that are very sexual, and it's one of those ways they express their love.
That you hit the point on being sexual, and I remember when I started getting older and I started dating women near my age or a few years younger, and I noticed that I'm like, boy, these women are very sexual. I mean, my God, they're
Right.
excuse my language, they're hornier than ever. And
Yes.
I'm like, Jesus, I got to keep up. I got to work out. I got to exercise. I got to do a lot of things
Right.
to keep up with these women because these women were like, my God. I said to myself, geez, I thought you slowed down, but I know I had
No,
to
we
up
don't.
my game. I had to up my game. And I
Yeah,
think men need to do that too, especially when you're past 40,
they
45,
do.
50. So Barry, today's topic is about erotic love stories. So when you started, as you gotten older and all that, did you feel for you and maybe your friends and clients or
Yeah.
whoever you may have, or the stories that you told,
Yeah.
did you feel that some of the women were getting just as sexual, like you said, as they were in their
Yes.
20s and
Yeah.
30s, and maybe the
Y-
men are opposite, or what
Well,
was
you
that
know
like for
what?
you?
It actually, the men weren't opposite. And see, I wrote something for a magazine, and we were waiting to see if it gets in. I wrote for Cosmo, and we're waiting to see if it gets
Ah,
accepted
okay.
to be in the magazine. So I don't know. But anyways, I wrote that most men, after you're in your 50s, think of women like us, where we're wearing high-waisted pants, stretchies, along with orthopedic shoes, and we don't care about sex. We actually have a coming out when we're after our 50s because our kids are grown,
Yeah.
and we're we're free, and what comes out is our sexual being, and it comes out like we're when we're in our 20s.
Right. Wow.
Like I am more sexual now than I was when I was raising my kids.
Right. That's wow. That's amazing. And what do you think that is? Is it because, like you say, you're raising your kids,
Right.
you don't have the partner, or let's say the partners are there or not there, but it's
Yeah,
basically obviously your kids are number one. Is it
right.
that you put off being
Yeah, well,
sexual
you get
because yeah,
tired. You're raising kids, and the
yeah.
sex isn't. I have a friend now. He's 47 and his wife is, I think, in her 40s, and they're not keeping it spicy. So he goes
Mm.
and he looks other places. You have to keep it spicy.
So
You have to
talk
keep
about
it's
that.
work.
So
It's
talk about
work.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got to make, like I tell in one of the things I tell in the book, because there's journal pages in the back of the book where you can make your own love story.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Your own spicy stories, and then
Yeah.
act them out with your significant other,
Right.
or act them out with someone you just meet. Um, I tell people to, like sleep naked. Like one of them sleep naked, like the man sleep naked, the girl in a lingerie. Don't just go to bed. If your bodies are touching, you're going to have sex.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless you're so repulsed.
Right, right,
So you
right.
have to make it that way, and you have to make time for it.
Mm.
And especially when we get older, we have a little more time. We're, looking at doing more things in our life. Um, and if, people get in a rut, they get in a
Yeah,
rut.
yeah, yeah.
And this book is about expressing yourself and your love for someone by getting naked and by having these really sexual encounters, that women want that fairy tale no matter what age they are. And I think men want that fairy tale too.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, I think for us, we want to be able to have sex until, we drop dead. So uh
Exactly.
and it's funny because I remember I was talking to this woman a couple of years ago, and she's like in her 20s. I was in my mid to late 50s. So yeah, just a few years ago. And I was telling her that as I got older, I'm like, Jesus, I don't know if it's me or maybe my diet got better or something, but I feel more sexual than I did when I was like 40, 30, and 20. I swear. And and
Yeah,
and I
when you were
said to myself,
working.
yeah, and I said to myself, Jesus, man, I gotta like release this energy somehow. So, so Barry, one of the things I wanted to ask you, do you recommend couples that do role play? Do they bring
Absolutely.
toys into the bedroom?
Absolutely. Like my
Yeah,
book,
go ahead.
I brought a vibrator in, you bring toys in, you know, everybody is individual and everybody gets turned on differently.
Right.
So, I I have it where when I would undress him,
Okay.
because I
Oh,
like to undress a man. I think
right.
it's very sexy to undress a man.
Okay.
I never said no in the book,
Ah, okay.
because and unless I'm sick, I don't say no. You
Right.
know, because
Yeah.
there's something about you. You don't want to go a month. You don't want to go 2 weeks. You don't even want to go a week. You want to keep it that way. And there are also other things in the book. Like I wrote, when he holds my hand, he waits. He doesn't let me walk behind him. I walk beside him.
Right.
We let each other pick each other's movies. He rubs my back and I rub his back, and it gets you in this mood
Mm.
when it's hard when you're having money problems, or you've been at each other's throat. Sex brings you together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's
100%.
Yeah,
Um, you mentioned earlier by touching, feeling, and
yeah,
all that. Like again, like you said, unless you're repulsed, then what's the point, right, of
but
being together?
they,
But if you find someone physically attractive and just even mentally
yeah,
attractive, I like the part that you said, just undressing the man, because usually it's the man that does that to the woman. But
right.
I love that you don't say no, and I think a lot of these young people uh I guess it depends on the woman, but it's like a transaction now. But
Yes.
what I've been seeing on the internet, what I've been reading, does that have to be transactional? Can it be two people just exploring each other and enjoying
Well, that's the
sex?
purpose of even the book.
Right.
Okay. There are 40 short stories about all different ways. Like I have a story in there that I love. It's my favorite in there. It's called The Dance,
Yeah.
where he takes her to a one of his events and they look across the room at each other and they don't say anything and they dance really close to each other and then he gets hard. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they stand outside. I don't know, can I say that on
Yeah.
the
Of course. Don't worry about
right?
it. Feel free. Feel free.
Right. And then they go upstairs and they have this amazing sex, you know, because but it was building up through
Ah,
the dance, through, she even says to him, honey, I want to finish this dance. Please don't get hard. And what does he
right.
do? He gets hard. Okay. So it's things like that. You have to keep it fresh. And
Yeah.
you married this person because you love them,
Yes.
you know, and like, what is it? 50% of marriages get divorced.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people because I
Okay.
did not find the right person, you know.
Right.
So I was multiple divorce. So now I know what to do. And the book helped me find what I wanted
Yeah.
because I was living what I really wanted and I always chose less than so it's really my dream in that book.
Right. Now, are these short stories, are they all yours or they're like from people that you
Oh no, no,
know?
no, they're
Yeah.
mine. It's
Oh,
a book.
wow. Wow.
It's a book about a couple, and each story takes them through some sexual,
Sure.
adventure, you could say.
Right.
Um, it also gives you it's different in that I wanted people to create their own stories because these are
Yeah.
my stories. I
Right.
want them,
Right.
and I wanted them, so I gave them those journal notes, and I also gave them tips during it. Do
Okay.
this, don't, have sex on the countertop, like, dress like a maid or something. Like there was one in the book where he was flirting with some girl, or some girl was flirting with him at a bar, and she goes and gets a maid outfit
Wow.
and
Okay.
then you know F's him on the table. So
Wow.
and
So
he
things like that, keeping it, like you said, keeping it spicy. So I don't mean to cut you off. And we're talking
no,
with Barry Beckett. Today's uh, topic is erotic love stories. So obviously you suggest where just having sex in different places of the house, the apartment, uh,
absolutely.
even if it's, can I say it, in a movie theater where she might whack them
Just
off
be
or
careful because
yeah,
now I want to say you can get in a lot of trouble and end up on one of those lists where you were a predator. So you've got to be very careful. I used to have
yeah,
sex. I used to be with a guy, and we would date on and off, and we both had small children. And there was
yeah,
this restaurant called the Moose Preserve in Detroit. We
yeah.
would have sex in the parking lot. Okay, because we had nowhere to go,
Wow.
or we would get a hotel room for like a couple hours. But now, public sex is considered being a predator. So
Oh, I
you
didn't
got to
know
be,
that. Okay. Oh,
yes.
thanks for letting me. Wow, being a
Well,
predator.
so
Jesus.
anyone that's going to have public sex, make sure they're being very discreet.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Right.
Like I said, this is to me fascinating because I don't hear much about this, especially for people our ages,
Yes.
past 50.
Yes.
It's like we got to be, a prune and whatever.
Yeah.
But, it pays to say that women and men are still hornier than ever. It's
They are hornier than ever.
just
And
finding the time.
women don't care. Their bodies are their bodies,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But they feel, when I was in my 20s, oh, my body, my stomach, oh, like this, my face. And I hope I can also teach younger girls that it's
Okay.
okay to say what you want in bed.
Mm. Do you
You
think
know,
you think women are shy to tell men what they want, or do they think that men might
100%.
get offended on that? Should a man ask? Because every woman's different. Some men want to go down on a woman, but the woman don't like that or whatever. So
Right.
so what kind, how is that
Well,
conversation
there's
approached?
communication
Yeah,
through it. But young girls out there, you can ask, you can say something. See, women our age will say something because we've been through it.
yeah,
We've been through it, we've had a lot of bad sex and a lot of good sex.
right.
And the younger, they're married, I just heard a girl at the salon say, uh, you know what? She pretends like she's asleep, or if she does, it takes like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and she's in
Yeah.
and out because they're not creating it. You
Mm,
really have to create it. Like you have to say what you want, and they
right.
have to say what they want.
Yeah.
And chances are you'll end up back in bed again.
It's just just communicate what you want, what you
Exactly.
don't like, and all. Okay,
Exactly.
and that's always the biggest thing. And since I've been doing this podcast for close to 2 years, it's always about communication. That's like the
Right.
biggest thing. So Barry, you know what? Like I said, this is fascinating. I think the biggest thing is obviously is compatibility. I mean,
Yes.
if you don't have it, then you don't have it.
You don't have it.
But it's just to keep it fresh, right? You
Yes.
like you
Yes.
said, do it different and different positions and all that. Oh, yeah, let's talk about the positions of sex. How can that be incorporated if you're used to doing certain, maybe one or
You
two
have to get a
positions? Yeah,
book
no,
or
go ahead.
something. You got to get a book.
Yeah.
Like I have a funny story in the book about he comes home with a book. He actually comes home with a book of positions. And
Right.
he has me do this position where my one leg's up, my one leg's down. He's trying to fuck me, excuse my language,
No, it's okay. Let it
from the
go.
inside, and I fall and he falls on me. And I
Oh,
go,
geez.
I am too old for this. That was one thing. And we laughed and we gave the book away. You
Right.
just, like you have to ask people, like you have to ask them, like, what do you dream of? What would you like to do? Because
Mm,
we are as women, we know who we are now. And
yeah.
I date more now. I have more men intrigued with me than I did in my 20s and 30s and 40s because I say
Wow.
who I am
Right.
and
And
I say
men
what I
find
want.
that fascinating and
Fascinating. They
yeah.
find it fascinating. It's freeing for men to hear, oh, they're not trying to figure it because it's stressful for you guys to try
Oh
to figure
yeah.
it out.
We can't read your minds, no.
Right. And it gets like you're naked, so it gets really um, it gets like you start not talking because you're thinking it in your head, but you're not saying the words.
Yeah. What's a healthy sexual drive? Is it 3, 4 times a week? Five? I mean, in your
If
opinion,
you
what?
ask me, you should ask me that question because I would, maybe if I would do five, but that's not normal when people work, and maybe it is normal, but I would say 3 times a week
Right.
was a good, you know, is good.
Right. 3 times. Okay. I mean, and you would even recommend that for the younger people
Younger
or just
people, they get in a rut. They get in a rut.
wow.
They're having young kids and they're tired. And this doesn't have to go on for 2 hours in your bedroom.
Sure.
You know, 20 to 30 minutes, you can make it something really exciting.
Yeah. How about
You know,
quickies, like a
oh,
morning
that's
sack? Yeah, go ahead.
quickies. I have one called the quickie in the book.
Okay. Yeah,
Where
touch
when
base
the
on
guy
that.
so horny. He just grabs, the girl, and I didn't name them so you could put your own names on them. So the
Right.
woman in the book. And he leans her over the counter and, does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called the quickie. And she laughs and he laughs at the end.
I listen, I remember I had this I was going out with this one woman that we talked marriage and everything, and I remember I woke up in the morning and I had morning wood and she took care of me and she goes, "Oh, I hope you have a good day." I'm like, "Yeah, I will." You know.
Right.
I love that. I was like amazing. I'm like, "Gee,
But
because
oral sex is like
yeah.
really part of it. And don't spit it out.
What all right, what
Swallow it.
so you're telling that to a woman? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
don't spit it out. Swallow it.
Wow. Okay. I think a man
It's
will
just,
definitely love that guy.
yeah. Men love that.
Yeah. Um, you know, I wanted to touch base a little bit more. Like you talked about having sex 3 times a week, or if more,
Right.
definitely try different sexual
Yeah.
positions, having a quickie in the morning here and
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're doing these stories, or when you started thinking about this stuff and talking to your other friends and all that, um, are as we get older, are more people our generation open to just having this type of
They
discussion?
are. We're not like my mother's generation.
Okay.
Okay. We grew up in the 70s and we were just not like them. I'm an author now full time. You
Okay.
know, I I have I've had another career, but I'm an author. That's what I consider my full-time job now. And
Okay.
I look for stories and I think of stories for people. We grew up in a different generation. We were more free to begin with.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we start working and we're like, we don't recognize ourselves. We
Yeah.
get tired and, like that.
Yeah.
We look at our husband and we look at ourselves and we've gained weight. So what? That you gained weight. Like, really, so what?
Right. Right. Right.
Still
Right.
get it on, like
Yeah.
that.
No, I listen, like I said, I think if, well, what you said, just communicate, because that's the
Yeah,
biggest thing. If you don't talk about it, nothing's
right,
going to happen. People going to
right,
just assume things. First
right.
of all, Barry, I could talk to you probably for another 10 hours because this
Yeah,
is
right.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And before I let you go, just a couple of more things. So talk about more about your book, Big Love, and talk about your new book.
Okay, so Big Love, you can find it on Kindle, Amazon, Kobo, Etsy, wherever, but Amazon and Kindle is it went worldwide with Kobo.
Oh, okay.
So, we self-publish and eventually I'm going to open my own self-publishing company to help other people self-publish. In
Nice.
fact, it's in the works.
Okay.
I have a new book out that's a regular romance called The Frenchman. It starts as a true story. I really did meet somebody in an elevator and it was love at first sight.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
did meet a Frenchman in New York who taught me. We had this great conversation. He was a film producer
Okay.
and really gave me insights to my own life. So it starts with the Frenchman and then it goes into Detroit where she meets the love of her life in an elevator.
Okay. Oh, good. We'll definitely and I know Big Love is out. Is the other book out?
Frenchman on
The Frenchman?
Kindle. Only
Okay.
on Kindle right now. The book is being processed to be everywhere, so
Ah, okay.
including Amazon.
All
Yeah.
right. No, sounds good. Anything else you want to promote or any
No,
appearances
you
you're gonna
can go
make?
to BariBeckett.com. My name is spelled BariBeckett.com, and you will see everything right there.
Yeah, I'll definitely put it on the show notes. First of all, tell us that website one more time.
BariBeckett.com.
All right.
And Barry spelled Bari.
Yeah,
And that's
I'll
so
definitely put that on the show notes. Well, first of all, Barry, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I had such a good time talking to you. Like I said, I could probably talk to you for another 10 hours. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. All
thank you. Thank you. It
right.
was really nice.
Thank you. Bye bye.